Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Last Best Hope for Conversation, a JKL Media podcast. And joining me, the K, Karen,
Hello.
the L, Lou,
Hello.
and I am the J, Jesse. And we're kind of turning a page, not to quote Bob Seger, but we have finished season 4. And in a couple weeks, we will start season 5. Next week, we're off because I'm out of town, not for a concert, for my sister's birthday. So today, we're talking Babylon 5 in the beginning, which was the very first TNT movie. And it was my first true experience to Babylon 5.
Wow.
And there is always a lot of debate on where you watch this movie if you've never seen before. And JMS actually said that if he was suggesting, he would have the new viewers watch this first. And he actually wrote that in mind, thinking that a lot of people, because would find Babylon 5 through TNT, will do that. So kind of with that set up, we're going to discuss it. But first, happy Father's Day to everyone here. We're recording on Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope everyone's having a great day. So quick thoughts about the movie, Karen.
Yeah, are we gonna say whether we think we should have seen it
Yeah,
before?
absolutely. In fact, why don't you give us quick thoughts and what do you think? Are you happy you've seen the first 4 seasons before seeing this? Or do you think if you put your mindset, this might have been a nice introduction?
No, I like where we watched it. And I think it's mostly because we get context to scenes that we've already seen. We get to see another side of a few scenes. And there's also a pretty good correlation between Sheridan, where he was before and where he is now. And I do like that. So I'm glad we waited to watch it. And I liked it.
Good. Lou?
Yeah, I liked it too. And I'm really puzzled as to why JMS would recommend watching this before the series, because it's basically a Cliff's Note to all the high points of the series. And without watching the series, you're spoiled and you have no emotional connection to what the events that we're seeing in this movie are all about. So, I don't understand his rationale at all. I'd like to hear a little more detail as to why he would make that recommendation. I'm curious, when was this filmed? Like, where was the series in its seasons in terms of where this movie was filmed?
So it was filmed after season 4 had been completed. I don't know. I'd have to look. Let's see if it's in Lurker's Guide, and someone else may know where it was. I don't know if it was filmed after the last episode of season 4 or before or kind of during. But yeah, it was before they had started 5.
Okay. I'm just curious because did they reuse footage from the series, or is everything in this movie new?
No, they reused some series footage. In fact, they asked one of the things was asked was did he not want to use Michael O'Hare, things, and he said that for budget reasons, because you said you would have had to fly Michael in first class, put up his accommodations, pay him for the scenes, and versus just you work with his agent to work out what you will pay him for using him again.
Okay.
And so since they had filmed all of that, he felt like it worked well enough telling that side they had already filmed it. So they wouldn't have necessarily had to, by having him do something extra.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
about Bruce Boxleitner? Because his haircut was totally different, and he looked younger too. Maybe that's just makeup. I don't know, but
Yeah, I
uh,
think it must have been makeup because all those were new. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
In yeah,
I
I don't like I yeah, when I watched this, I kind of knew why there's a hole in your head, right? And I knew what had happened on the Battle of the Line.
hmm
So, but I didn't understand what that meant, even though I watched it, right? And so as I was watching the series, and I think in an interview he said there's two types of mysteries. There's the I don't know and I'm learning along with the cast, or I know more than the cast and I'm getting to enjoy watching them know what I know. And he said both can be entertaining. So yeah, I think this was the right way to do it too. Um, because rewatching this, and I've done it a couple times, you enjoy it more. At least I did. I liked it the first time. Obviously, I was ready to be all in on TNT, and I liked everything. But seeing this more, like seeing Londo very kind with the children, is a great payoff because I know his journey. Seeing, you know, um, you know, I wanted to see more of Claudia, right? Seeing just all the different things was good. I think also Londo looks so young in those early scenes when he sees it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um,
I'm
all right.
curious, Jesse. Do you have the
Yeah.
B5 wiki page open for this movie, or
Uh, Lurker's Guide or
oh,
No, the
Weekend?
wiki.
the Babylon
I
Project?
I do not.
Because the summary gives away a point I wasn't aware of, and I'm just
Okay.
wondering if that's in the blurb for the movie too, or is
What's that?
this something to do about Londo? Um, I wasn't aware of that until I opened up this page, and now I'm feeling kind of bummed out.
What is it? And we can cut it out if we need to.
Uh, in the film set primarily in December 2278 on Londo Mollari's final day alive. Was that
Yeah.
is that in the movie summary?
No, it's not in the movie summary,
Yeah,
but
but we saw that already.
yeah, so this is right before on the timey-wimey one where
hmm
he says he has Delenn and John in front of him,
hmm
and then he go make your pass, then he comes back, he's drunk, and he says, "My friends," and he shows the keeper.
Yeah, which we didn't
And then
see
right after
in the
that
movie.
is yeah, and that's right after that is when Jakar kills him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that in the show,
But we
but it
didn't
was the
see, but
same
there's no
day.
keeper on his neck in this
Well, it's
movie.
because
Well,
because it's hidden.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we
you
didn't
can't.
see the scene where he reveals the keeper in the movie. We saw before and after that, or no, just before that. Because we don't see him. He shows it to Delenn and John, right? That's where
Yeah, it
he
can't
he
hold its
shows them.
liquor, right? He
Right.
talks about it can't hold
He's
its.
he's still drinking when the kids
hmm
are running around.
And he says, "I need another bottle. I will need several bottles."
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So
So chronologically, I think it fits with what we saw in the show,
yeah,
right? Where he's looking and he wants them brought to him. And then the keeper shows up and then he is killed by Jakar,
yeah,
right?
I half expected when he called for more liquor, I half expected Jakar to show up.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But okay,
Right?
I just found it. I didn't clue into that because they didn't show the keeper, so I wasn't aware that it was his last day
Yeah.
alive.
Oh,
So it threw me. And then when I read this
Well,
summary for the movie, I'm going, really? This is his last day alive? Okay.
and I think that is part of the not giving away everything
hmm
in the TV movie, but enough that if you've seen everything, you can connect it. And because I didn't catch that at all till after reviewing, right? And then, oh yeah, I guess I should have. The clues are all there. I just hadn't picked it up. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and he,
yeah,
he seems so melancholy also in the movie. And I think that, we discussed this last week that, he had these visions, and I think maybe he knew that this was his last day, right? From those
yeah.
visions. So
I would think
anyway,
so. Yeah, and not explained in the script anywhere, but the kids are they were remember his friend he kills in the duel,
Hmm.
and he promises he will take care of his family.
Right.
yeah.
So they're related to him, the Uza Jado.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was in the novelization that, by the way, if you can find it used, Peter David wrote it, and it's
Hmm.
very good novelization. It adds a little bit of depth to it. And so it was
And
good.
the nanny is Rifa's daughter, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
They called her something Rifa,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
that's
and that's what and yeah, so it is I think not all of everyone was I think he left enough hidden in there that, if I think on multiple watching you'll end up seeing this, all right? Yeah.
right.
So let's start with that. We see Londo, the children are laughing and joking, and he um is, as Karen said, very melancholy and kind of there. And I think it's funny. Now you're emperor. Make a wish, and I want a
Yeah.
story. And then I love the thing. It's the quiet ones you need to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so he starts telling it. And so and I'll start with you, Lou. Did you like that the storytelling technique that this is a aged Londo telling the in the beginning, which as as many times as JMS will do very clever titles, this one was just very on the nose. Well, back in the beginning. So Lou, what did you like that kind of story technique?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It felt a little Princess Bride to me. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking of
Oh,
Peter
that's
Falk
nice.
and
Yeah.
what's the boy from Wonder Years?
What? Yeah.
Fred Ben
Fred Savage.
Savage?
Yeah. Fred Savage.
Fred Savage, yeah. I had that kind of a vibe from it. The kids were cute, which helped.
Yeah.
I thought that that was well played, and I thought it was a good way for the show or for the movie to allow it to skip over events, so it didn't have to be like one continuous um, through line, so they could jump to the highlight moments from each storyline. So I thought that was quite effective, and it allowed Londo to fill in gaps when the kids would ask questions that the viewers were probably asking. He said, "Well, wait a minute, what about this?" And then he would, say this and that. So it was good, and it was also good to illustrate Londo's realization of his sins, even though I still can't feel that much sympathy for him because he was aware of them at the time as well, and he still went ahead and
Yeah.
did them. So his remorse, I think he's quite a bit self-pitying when he's created his own personal hell. So from that perspective, I don't know if they're trying. I guess the intent was to make him seem more sympathetic, but to me, it's just, dude, you knew this back then, and you still went ahead and did it. So yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, I think self-pity is a good way of saying it because over the course of what we've seen so far, he is all about himself. I mean, that is one of his defining qualities, right? Is to take care of number one. And I do feel like he has some connections to people, but if those connections get in the way of something that benefits him, he will sever them. So, I mean, like Garibaldi, Jacquard, he had connections to them. And when it came down to it, he chose himself over them. So I think self-pity is a really good way to put it. And yes, melancholy, because I think he also sees what terrible things he's done, and he knows it's going to lead to his demise. And I just feel like that is forefront of his mind, and maybe he's using telling these children a story as a way to get his mind off things, is what it seems to me. I got the Princess Bride vibe as well. I thought that immediately when he starts telling them the story, mostly because I've seen that movie like a million times, but it's a really good device to skim a story and yet give us all the salient points where we get to see this story that we've heard all through the series. We've heard about all these things and we've seen some of them, but it really does tie things up very nicely in showing us what led up to like the Babylon project, right? All this kind of led up to them messing around and making Babylon 5. So it truly is in the beginning in many different ways. And all of this stuff that he's talking about, not the stuff that happens in the present, and I'm putting air quotes, present day, happened before the series started, right? And I really, really enjoyed seeing a lot of these things from a different perspective. That's one of my favorite tropes, is to show a scene we've already seen from another view in another way. And we see that several times in the movie. So I really, really liked it. And it's it's a show and tell, which I very much like in this case. So I very much enjoyed the conceit.
Yeah, I get a little bit of the end of Breaking Bad scenario. And spoilers if you guys have not seen Breaking Bad, kind listeners, or you guys for that matter. But Walter White continuing says, everything I did for my family. Everything I did for my family. And at the very last episode, he says, you could just see and he goes, I did it for me because I
Yep.
liked it.
Mhm.
I was
Yep.
good at it, right? And that
Yep.
was when his wife kind of first started to forgive him for his actions because he was honest. I don't know if Londo ever truly gets to that point because his thing is, I did it because I love Centauri Prime. I love
Right.
Centauri Prime. He talks about, I've been married 4 times, but and I've loved them all. Someone said, wait a minute. No, he didn't. And JMS in an interview said, when you get old, your perception changes, right? You mellow with age.
Mm.
So
Yep.
in his own way, he loved all of them, right? Um, but he said, so his always excuse was, I did it for Centauri Prime, but I think reality, he did it because he was power hungry and
Yep.
he wanted that. Um, Another thing that I don't know if you guys caught, because I didn't till I'd watched this multiple times, is what do you want? And he says, I want a story. And Londo says something, he did better with that question than I did,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which is the, Shadows
Yeah.
question. What do you
More
want? Yeah.
Morden, when
Yeah.
Morden comes to yeah.
Which I thought that's a nice little throw it on there, that if you don't know what that means the first time you're watching it, only with a rewatch, you get that. So I thought it was great. Yeah. So yeah, and I think I think that's I tend to be a sucker for redemption stories and have been a little bit so I think a little more quick to offer forgiveness. Though I can't disagree with you, Lou, the idea, has he earned it and can he ever earn it? I don't know. Um, so I think one of the nice things I saw was the general was the one we saw in that that last battle in season 4, right? The one that says, you'll have to pay for your crimes, but for now, welcome home. That was J. Patrick McCormick, General
Right.
Left Court. I thought that was really cool. They brought him back as this, because that way we know that guy and we know where they're going to end up being. Um, I thought Londo looked very young, and and I love, I think they did a good job of showing the humans' cockiness, right? Like
Hmm.
we took care of the Den Bar. We're the new bigwigs in town. We can handle anything we want. Um, and and Londo is like, look, guys, you need to stay away from the Minbari, right? You need to not F with them. We are, and so Karen, any thoughts on and it's kind of hard to go through this show with breaking it down. So, but let's talk about this early, the Earth cockiness, and maybe
Sure.
talk about, you know, what I love about this is there were so many, for want of a nail, the war was lost, right? This is so
Hmm.
many, this is continued where if blank hadn't happened, this ultimately, would not have fallen into place. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about Londo meeting with them. And also I want to throw in there John going, no, I'm going to stay where I'm at now and not, because if he had been at the first contact, he might have been able to tone down the captain
Right.
who's kind of arrogant, that they're passing out medals by bucketfuls.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, well, first of all, Left Court, I love that the two things he was in was in the beginning and end game. I mean, that's kind of cool, right?
That is very cool. Yes.
So I'll talk about the things that you mentioned, and then also I'm going to talk about how Jakar and Londo fit into that.
Okay, good.
So the Earth's bigwigs, at least in the military, and I think this echoes throughout where we see military figures tend to get full of themselves when they're up high and they have a victory. We saw that with the Minbari as well, right? They had a victory, so they replaced half of the Grey Council. Uh, and I do appreciate that viewpoint because it happens in real life that, when people are fighting a battle and they get a win under their belt, they tend to be a little more full of themselves, right? And I do love that we got the two different viewpoints from ambassadors to Earth that, Londo says, no, I'm not going to help you. I'll give you the information you want, which he does say right before he walks out the door, but I'm not going to help you. That's going to be the end of, they'll come after me. So no, thank you. And then they go to Jakar, who's, he's sitting in the dark and he is relishing this because he's giving humans access to things that are Centauri in nature. And that kind of put a smile on my face because he is hoping they get caught, right? So that the Minbari will go against the Centauri and not the Narn because they have Centauri weapons and things of that nature. And I thought that was a little funny. And I hesitate to use funny, but that whole power struggle between Jakar and Londo, and seeing before they got to know each other on Babylon 5, the way that he really he hates the Centauri, right? Because of all the the subjugating they've done of his people. And it can't, it's cyclical. What goes around comes around, and they became kind of friends, kind of. And then, Londo does his thing, and again they're enemies. And also at the end of this movie, which we don't see, he kills Londo. They kill each other. So I think it's interesting kind of to see that up and down. We see the beginning, we've already seen the middle, and we know the ending between them. So that's cool. And I I was a little upset that humans would be portrayed as this way, but I also get it. Like I said before, it's human nature, and I'm saying that on purpose, that someone that is used to winning because, the United States always won. This guy's definitely at least American based. And then, the Earth just won this other fight. People tend to get cocky when that happens. And to see him just, no matter what people tell him, he wants to go out and contact these people and get more. I think what he ultimately says he wants is to find more technology and learn more. But what he really means is he wants to get more influence throughout the galaxy. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack there. And I love that the movie gives us that information without laying it all out. And we also, not only did we see the people on Earth talking about that, but then we see the captain on, what is it, the Agamemnon?
I don't think it's the Agamemnon, the Prometheus, right?
Sorry, yes,
right.
The Prometheus.
Because,
Yeah,
and we get that scene of where they cut back where the fighter is the one that, Michael York plays that part that,
right.
And that's where he,
right before he becomes
the war. Yeah.
Before he becomes what, like a knight in Camelot, right? Isn't that the
Yeah. So Lou, how about you? Are you finished, Karen?
Yeah. Oh, I'm done.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, good stuff.
Yeah, I'll leave Londo Jakar out of this since I think Karen covered that quite well. I don't really have anything to add to that. One of my criticisms or observations of the series is, as a whole, is casting, especially guest casting, is spotty at times. So it was quite a pleasant surprise for me that I didn't find one actor to be the weak link in this episode. I thought especially the Earth sections were really well cast. Every character hit their lines believably, and I don't have any quibbles about anyone who was cast. So that was a really nice bonus for this movie. I also thought that the crowd scenes were probably some of the best that they've done with all the troops and that. I saw that all really worked well for me. I should probably know this, and B5 fans don't whip me, but is Tricia O'Neill as a secretary, was she the secretary she wasn't the president that was killed by what was the other guy's name? Was it
Clark?
No.
Okay.
No.
So she was good too, and I thought that the portrayal of, as Karen had mentioned, of the humans being so cocky about going out into space because they've just come off a successful campaign is very human-like, and I think maybe JMS realized that those scenes might give people kind of turn them off a little bit from the human characters, which is why I think he consistently had Londo praising the humans for their bravery and their passion and so forth as an outsider. So that was an interesting twist, because usually it's the other way around, that the outsider would criticize the other party, but in this case they're praising them, whereas the actual party themselves, we're seeing that they're pretty flawed in a lot of respects. So and this was also the part of the movie that I think works the best if you've seen the first 4 seasons, because there's a lot of things that we've been told, like Sheridan's use of the bombs to destroy the Minbari warship. So it was good to see that stuff, and I thought that was all well played. It was a kick to see Sinclair again, but I kept on thinking to myself, boy, it sure is damn lucky that of all the humans in that battle, they just happened to pick the one that happened to be the one that would make the what was it?
Trumolari,
Trumolari light up. Because what if they had picked another guy, then nothing happened? So it was kind of like, okay, but this is kind of the way fate, destiny works a little bit too. So I kind of went with that. And it was also interesting to see Delenn back in her pre-metamorphosis Minbari makeup again. So And it was good to see, like Ducat. I always liked
Yeah,
the actor that played him. He was good. And the other guy that was the head of the Texas Rangers, what was his name again?
Lumiere, I think.
Yes,
Lennon.
Lennon or
Lennon,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
he was good
Lennon.
too.
Yeah, Lennon, yeah.
I don't. He wasn't mentioned in the series though, was he?
No, he wasn't. He's
No, okay, because
Theodore Bickle is the guy who played him.
okay.
A once again one of those
Oh yeah, there he is.
guys,
Yeah, yeah,
that he had been a
yeah.
lot of stuff. Um, yeah, so I want a couple of things about that, and then we'll move to the Minbari. Yeah, I think that um you guys are exactly writing this perfect, right? That the idea that I think it's been feast or famine with guest cast. There have
Hmm.
been
Hmm.
times when we've said, God, they knocked it out of the park, whether it's June Lockhart or, I guess it's hard to say Walter Koenig is a guest star because he's kind of reoccurring, but then there's others where we go, they kind of didn't quite sell,
Hmm.
the character. But I do agree this was interesting, right? The the arrogant captain of the Prometheus, right? He just comes across
Hmm.
as just this horrible, like I'm gonna, I'm this arrogance and I'm gonna, we're gonna, I want this, was, I think, really, really interesting. Um, I did want to ask about, so let's move to a little bit of, the Minbari. We see a lot. Delenn had not officially been part of the Great Council. And once again, if Ducat had shared, hey, I've got a Vorlon in my there's a Vorlon in my closet.
Two
Uh
Orlons.
Right.
yeah, yeah. And guess what, guys, right? And they're telling us humans are important, so we need to go do that. No, he's holding his cards close to the vest, though that does give that I'm not saying anything now, and I wasn't saying anything now, I'm not saying anything then. And she kind of, well, I'm finding out you're having supplies shipped, and that would tell me. And then she returns it. So I think uh, seeing Ducat again and Delenn's back and forth was really nice. That we had already seen that in the previous. Have your comeback was really well done. And it also gives you even more context that when after the misunderstanding, right? That and I knew what was coming. I mean, I didn't know what was coming. So it was good for me, like the idea of oh, we have our gunboats open because that's our sign of strength. And I'm thinking, well, I guess that's like if you were, a knight with your sword drawn, right? You're going to think of that as a threat. So once again, you're like, if that had not happened, wouldn't. The other thing is, um, Delenn being so emotional, and the council is divided, and she's in the middle of grief. Kill them all. So we had seen this scene before, so I want to stick with you, Lou. Um, Thoughts on this? The whole Vorlon's being hidden, him not sharing that story, and Delenn's anger at that. And we'll move on later to where they're going toward the Battle of the Line and everything. So go ahead.
Yeah, it was interesting to see it, as Karen mentioned, from a different perspective.
Yes.
It was, but it still played pretty well the same for me, even though it was from a different perspective. The Vorlon reveal was definitely a bit of a surprise to me, and I enjoyed that. It was kind of a kick to see them again, even though they turned out to be something that I didn't
Yeah.
really like. So that was well played. Um, I guess the other question I have is about so Sinclair, Sheridan and Franklin are taken prisoner, but then we never find out what happened to them. Like, did they hold them as prisoners of war for the rest of the war, or did they let them? I guess they let them go
I think
eventually,
they
but
let him go because he was able to give to say in Minbari. And that was
yeah,
another thing, right? Like, Londo said he attacked because he had the attacked because he thought they were doing weapons.
Yeah.
It's only afterwards he knew that was a possible peace accord,
Right.
right? And so that's more guilt that Londo has. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he broke up that, or they
Yeah.
bombed that clandestine meeting with
Yeah.
Lenon. The other interesting thing, and I didn't mention it in the previous part where we were talking about the troop stuff, was
Yeah.
it was interesting to find out that Franklin had helped Minbari. I don't believe that was a reveal that we knew in the series.
No.
And so that was interesting to see that. And it, I think it was probably the best positive show of Franklin's character in terms of his medical oath and that. Whereas in the series, I don't think they served him nearly as well in that aspect. So this was a little bit of I thought, a bit of a redemption arc for Franklin. Um, and I did like him standing up to that general who was really, tearing a hole in him. I thought he held his own pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, I liked Franklin in this, which is saying something. Again, I've really been warming up to him in this season and now this movie. I think that they've written him better, which I think was the problem in the other seasons, right? Because Richard Biggs is a good actor. And I
Yeah.
think they just didn't give him enough for us to connect to him. And they made him seem like he didn't take his oath very seriously. And now, recently, now in season 4 and this movie, he's really shown a lot more character. And I really love that. I also, one of the things I noticed is that, when John came aboard Babylon 5, we see that he is close with Susan, and it's never really shown that we see that he hasn't gotten to know Garibaldi very well, right? But they did have kind of a casual thing between him and Franklin, and it's good to see why that is, because they had met before. So that's cool as well.
If I could
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, continue. No, I was just going to say, yeah. JMS, someone said, why didn't you ever acknowledge that? And he said, well, if you look, I never filmed the shot of Franklin and John seeing each other the first time, but you notice there's always a closeness. There is an easiness to them. So he felt like that was implied, that he had the leeway to kind of add that's why they knew, right?
Right. And it also explains why he was on the War Council, because Sheridan has seen him come through in the clutch, right?
Yeah.
So, that's good too. And I'm trying to think. There was something else I wanted to say, and now I can't remember. And it wasn't your fault.
No, okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. I liked Franklin. I also liked that the Minbari gives John a phrase that means future, right? So that it's his get out of jail free card, which is cool, which, that also shows another reason why they might have been okay with him taking over Babylon 5, the Minbari, right? Because even though he had this horrible battle with them and destroyed one of their ships, they saw that he was given the okay by a higher up in the Minbari, right?
So what do you guys think of Ducat not telling about the Vorlons? And go ahead, Karen.
The Vorlons.
Thoughts? Yeah.
They're still the worst, right?
They're dicks.
They are. It was cool to see them both, Kosh and Olkesh, right? Because we knew that they were different in their beliefs, right? That Kosh had a more soft spot for the lesser beings and Olkesh didn't. And to see them both there and to see her interacting, and I'm assuming this is where we start them working together, because that was a question I had too. How did that begin? And I guess, she was told by Ducat that they were going to have to ally with them. And that was cool. And also, to see him using the same old phrases, I have always been here. Come on. You haven't always been there, and we know it. When did you show up? I don't care about, she's not asking philosophically, when did you get
Yeah.
here? She's asking literally,
Yeah.
when did you get here? And he has not always been there. And so that kind of thing really, it bums me out about them. I feel like that they're obtuse on purpose to be irritating.
Yes.
And, he says, he's the worst. I'm sorry. Kosh is the worst, and Olcash is even worster. So yeah, I thought that reveal was cool. That we get to see the origins of that partnership as well.
Yeah. Lou?
I've, just leveraging off of Karen's point about the Vorlons, I just think to myself, how did they convey properly to Ducat what their reason for showing up was and why he shouldn't tell anybody about them? Because
Yeah.
they speak cryptically all the time. So how did they communicate to him exactly what was going on? So that's kind of a stretch, I think.
Right.
And
Silence.
from Ducat's perspective, I'm not sure how to read that. Like he doesn't seem like the kind that would purposely withhold information from other people, but maybe under the proper circumstances he would, and I guess he deemed that these were. So I'm a little ambivalent about him doing that, and especially since Lennon seemed to know about him as well. So, but maybe that's because he just found out recently. Because I think he said
Yeah.
something about Ducat communicated something to him. So I'm a little. I think it's a little bit of a hand wavy kind of thing, just to preserve the storyline. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really affect anything overall for me. So I kind of said, okay, I don't really know how this would have worked, but I guess something had to have happened that made it work, and that's just what I'll have to accept for it. So yeah, I'm just ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
So Kosh was married to Lita in real life?
Yes.
The guy who was inside Kosh was married to Patricia Tallman. That's
at the time, yes.
super cool.
All right, so we do get to see the famous Black Star incident, right? Where he became Sheridan, got to do that. And so I thought that was a really nice scene. And then, and I don't know if there's enough meat on the bone to send a whole segment on that, but I want to lead that into Patricia O'Neill is just Trisha O'Neill, right, she was the original, on the movie that ended up being the Waltons. She's been in just everything. And as the Earth Alliance president, when she gives that last speech, right, like, I'm asking you to go die. I know you're going to die, but every 10 minutes, maybe we can save 1,000 humans to get out of here so that our race doesn't die. I thought that was just killer, was just the right amount of, depth. She didn't play it, too overly dramatic. I just thought that was a great scene. So what do you guys think?
Yep.
And Lou,
Yep.
Okay,
I agree.
go
I thought she was very solid. And again, like all the casting, she was really good in her role. Yep.
Yeah. What did you think of and go ahead, Lou. I mean, just that the way she's, the Battle of the Line. We've talked about the Battle of the Line and kind of seeing that and setting the stage for it. And I thought also that the extras, right, that kind of play, they're looking around each other and like, well,
I think the extras sell that speech.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add on that?
Yeah, I like Trisha O'Neill. She was also Rachel Garrett in yesterday's Enterprise.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
In the Next Generation, Enterprise C. I really like her as an actress. She's been in a million things, like you said.
Yeah.
A lot of genre television. And I thought she did a great job here. Just really sold that speech.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we do get the reveal that, you know, Delenn is saying, I think everyone's tired of the war. I think even the warrior cast is tired, but now and at this point, she's, they just don't know how to stop. And so they do happen to pick up the right person who actually becomes, spoilers, Valen. They don't tell that though. They save that,
Hmm.
they don't give that badge, which I'm glad because I remember going, holy shit, really?
Hmm.
That was so the um and the kind of discussion, and they have to, Minbari, don't kill Minbari. It was our number one um rule, though later we see that's kind of shaky, uh you know um so kind of this was the big reveal and the ending. We've already talked a little bit about that, they spoil what was one of the big mysteries. So any thoughts on that, Lou?
No, uh, I think I've already said my piece. I just again
Okay.
reiterate they're just damn lucky to pick the right human out of all
Yeah.
those people in the battle. And if you want to
Yeah.
go with fate or destiny, then I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like a fate type of thing.
Yeah.
That's why he was put there,
Hmm.
by
Yeah.
whatever higher being.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I like that. I like that we saw the triluminary thing glow.
Yeah.
And we know that it glowed for Delenn as well. So
Yeah.
that's cool. And we also kind of get that insight into why she watched over Sinclair on Babylon 5. I mean, that was just
Yes.
very, very cool.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I think that was a nice, they go, that explains why he had to be the commander, why she was the ambassador there, even though she was a member of the Great Council. Really, really done.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because that was a thing that we had talked about, right? In what
Yeah,
was it, season one, I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to get that backstory.
Hmm. And the story ends, and I do think it. I think that the scene where Londo is wrapping things up, and she, the nanny, says, she appears, looking at him, right, and he says, "Dear lady, I would, nothing more than walk on the beach with you for 5 minutes." And to go so far and to want so little. I felt that was really well done by Peter Jurassic. Uh, yeah, that sometimes be careful what you wish for. I don't think we've seen it yet, and so this is slightly spoilery. But you talk about I think this is in the fifth season, but he says something about um, when I had no power, I had all the choices in the world. And now that I have all the power, I have no choices left. Right? And
Yeah.
that's be careful what you wish for. I thought that was played really well. And she did seem very touched by, and could see he was in pain. And then that's the end of the movie. So any
Well,
final go?
yeah, you skipped over Ganya and Susan.
Oh gosh, yes. I am so sorry. And
That's all
Claudia
right.
and Christian, yes. Yeah, I did not know,
Well, she was
and
uncredited,
yeah, I
interestingly
did
enough.
not know that Susan only wore one earring the whole series. Had either one of you noticed that?
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Okay. And so that's why I guess it wasn't as a big a reveal for me, right?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, whatever, right?
Yeah, I didn't notice. It isn't like it's Claire, Carol Burnett, tugging at her ear. Oh,
Right.
what's the reason behind that? But it is, we do get that, she was very protective of her brother. He died, in the Battle of the Line or at the war. And it does set up why her and her father were estranged.
Right.
And so, yeah, since you brought it up, Karen, any thoughts you want? I think it was really well done. And
Hmm.
she looks very young. All of them,
Yeah.
they did a great job of either filming, makeup, or something. She looks really young.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I liked that scene a lot between the two of them because we didn't get a lot of that story. And at the very least, we got the fruition of what had happened between her and her brother, and
Yeah.
that he lost his life in that battle as well. So it ties a lot of things together.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate that. No, I never noticed that she only wore one earring at all. It's a
Hmm.
nice touch. It and it would have been nice if we had known something about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's weird that the series never referenced it in some way. I mean, they obviously must have had it in mind because why would she only wear one earring for the course of the series? Yet they never referenced it until now, which I don't know, seems weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. It was. It's very weird.
Okay, so one of my things that I wanted to mention, and this is
Please.
just an offhand thing, I guess we're pretty deep into the AI thing, in technology right now. And I think this would have been a great way to use AI, this movie, because we did get some Sinclair when, when he wasn't really on set. And they
Right.
could have changed those scenes a little bit. I'm not saying they weren't effective in this.
Right.
But they definitely could have like updated some of the scenes. They could have instead of using practical effects to de-age or age up some of the characters, they could have used some AI, which isn't terribly successful yet, but um, and I just think we're watching a show where technology has progressed from us where we are in the present day, but it hasn't progressed in the way that we have, like we talked about social media and things like that. And when I think about technology while I'm watching a show that's about technology, it kind of gives me that meta thing, but also makes me wonder what they might have done if AI was available back then.
Okay. All right. How about you, Lou? Any final thoughts before we get to ratings?
Yeah, I think the one thing that stood out for me is the poor bridge design, that everybody on that one ship was so safe except for the captain who was sitting in the middle and got clobbered by the beam. That doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a good design to me.
Yeah,
It doesn't. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
agreed.
Hmm.
Yeah, but in all of science fiction, that's kind of what bridges look like. And again, you're right. It's a terrible design, but it's always the captain is right up front in the middle
Yeah.
with maybe a couple guys in front of them. But
Hmm.
And also, right, like, I guess just it also feels like the bridge should be in the middle of the ship, not on the top,
right,
right? But,
right.
I guess that's uh just by tradition because on a ship, right, you have to be that high for the view, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
Even though their screens don't
Yeah,
have
exactly.
anything, it's not a window,
Right.
so they
Yeah.
could be right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
Okay.
I wish they could have worked some scene for Garibaldi as well. I have to put in my
yeah,
Garibaldi flag, but
Yeah.
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, it would have
I
been
thought
nice.
about that as well, even though
Yeah.
I'm not a Garibaldi head like you are.
I believe what it was is if I can remember is budget reasons they were I think four TNT movies, and so they kind of split the cast around to try to everyone get a little taste. So, but yes, it would have been nice to see we didn't see Lanier, we didn't see, Veer.
We're
Yeah,
Yeah, but I would,
yeah.
Garibaldi isn't a side character.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think it would have been
Or
nice to
is
see
he?
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good point. Very good point. All right. Well said. Ratings. I'll go first. I part of me just out of nostalgia and love, I want to give this 10 out of 10, but I don't think that's fair. It's certainly a beautiful film and a great film, and a wonderful introduction to the series. But I'm going to stick with uh, 9 out of 10 Emperor Crest. Lou?
I also will give it a 9, and I'll give it 9 uh, kudos to the casting director.
Nice. Very good.
Mhm.
Karen?
Same here. 9 triluminary glows.
Oh, good.
Good one.
Yeah, the P5 rating on Lurker's Guide is 8.94.
Oh,
So we're close. I was surprised they didn't. I would have thought this would have been higher than 9, but I guess someone does this. I am tempted to. I know when I first got the box set, I did watch it with JMS's commentary. I did not have time to do it before this rewatch, but I may do that this week just for fun to go back and hear all the things he said. All right. And we did get some feedback, some of it all the way back to Nathan had sent this in February saying just in case whenever we got it. So Karen, you want to share our feedback?
Yeah, I'm going to read Nathan's first since he got it to us first. Nathan says, "Hey guys, it's my favorite Babylon 5 movie, and I think by far is the best one. It has an unfortunate problem of needing to insert existing characters into past events, so sending Sheridan to do peace talks because of main character syndrome," and he capitalizes that, "is just plain strange. Franklin, on the other hand, is a logical guy to send, along with some other promoters of peace, and them dying in an attack would further the plot better for my taste. Watching Earth is sad and predictable, and I would have loved to see Sheridan and other characters we know reacting to the Battle of the Line and its strange aftermath. Love Delenn in this movie, just like I love Atonement. Such a great character piece for her. Mira gets to play so many different states. I've always thought that she gets overlooked too much compared to Andreas and Peter. Was really glad to see Ducat again. Love this actor, and generally I despise, quote, make a prequel about saying X, unquote, that fans like to suggest, but I would be glad to see more focus on Minbari or a mini-series with him in it, anything. Londo, of course, is a mini star in this and goes through the same mini arc of being reasonable and sad to becoming a villain who bombards planets for ambition, but a speech about arrogance is stupidity, all in the same package. How efficient of you is amazing. One of these days, I'll get over a strangely cumbersome way of making gifts with words in them and make a gift with Londo saying this with the Babylon 5 font. Yes, please do that, Nathan.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. With regards, Nathan.
Perfect, Nathan.
So thank you, Nathan. And I think you should do that.
Absolutely.
I used to make gifts for Tumblr, but Tumblr doesn't exist the way I like it anymore, so I don't do it. Anyway, so now I'm going to read the email from David. David says, "This won't be much because IMO, there really isn't that much new information. Not surprising, since this was meant to introduce B5 to TNT's audience. We see the aged Emperor Mollari circa 2278, or War Without End, telling two young children the story of the Earth-Minbari War. We then supposedly go back 45 years to his recollection of a meeting he had with General Lefcourt, spotting the worst Just for Men digest I've ever seen." Oh my gosh, that's funny. Just for Men.
Yes.
He advised the general not to go poking the race of honey badgers the humans have heard rumors of. He advised them to proceed with only a single vessel, which Lefcourt promptly ignored, which prompts Londo to say one of my favorite lines that I used in the army for 20 plus years: "Stupidity and arrogance all together. How efficient of you."
That is a great line. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It is a great line. Personally, I have a bit of an issue with the timeline here. If it was indeed 45 years ago, then several of the main characters would have been teenagers based on many little clues dropped throughout the series. Anyway, we then read Rabbi Kozlov, Lenin of the Anashok. We learn the Anashok have pretty much become the Minbari version of the VFW. No one takes them seriously as a military force anymore. But due to tradition, they are still allowed to speak to the Great Council, who mostly blows him off, except for Dukat, who decides some odd reason that he would take the Great Council and go to Zahadum to see if the shadows were indeed awakening. Anyone else see the problem there? Left Court calls in a young, eager beaver, Lieutenant John Sheridan, about the upcoming mission to find the Minbari. The kid has his doubts since the commander of the expedition is a loose cannon. And wasn't there an incident where the guy screwed up before? You would think they would send out someone different, like maybe Haig, with someone with diplomatic experience along. You know, possibly like David Sheridan.
You
but
froze,
anyway.
Karen.
Huh? Did I?
Yeah.
Are we
Yes.
okay now?
Yeah, just for a moment. Yeah, you're good.
Do I need to go back?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay, the big issue I've had with this has always been something not done. We already know that most of the prophecies of the Minbari are based off of Sinclair / Valen. We've already seen him send messages to his future self and to Delenn. Why didn't he send one to Dukat? Hey, about 950 years from now, be extra careful approaching unknown ships. These guys might be a bit trigger happy. My guess is he sent it USPS. Okay, this is me interjecting. And I think he didn't say it because he needed the war to happen, right? He needed these things to unfold the way they did.
That's an interesting thought. We're going to stop here for a minute. I agree with you, Karen. Like unfortunately, that's the way it happened. That's the way it had to happen. And if I change that, then I would never go back in time and I wouldn't have, become Valen and blah, 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 right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Just
so
a
back
thought.
to the
Any
email.
thought, Lou?
No.
No, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
The EA president calls for everyone who could possibly fight to hold off the Minbari attack. Each minute may give a few hundred more chances to evacuate. In clips from the first season, we see Sinclair about to kamikaze his Star Fury into a Minbari ship, and we know how that goes. Finishing up the story for the children, Londo looks at Sheridan and Delenn in the Centauri cell for more without end. He toasts his good friends before getting totally hammered and releasing them and getting killed by Jakar. Personally enjoyed this one, except for one nagging thought. Not a single character ever mentioned meeting each other during the war up to this point. The answer is, of course, JMS didn't have this in mind with his original plan and only came up with the story when it moved to TNT. Now for the teaser for next week. Join us next week when we get a discussion about the importance of clean socks or the possibility of the consequences of seeing Londo naked. Oh my.
Oh my. Yes.
That's quite a hint.
Yes.
So thanks, David. I appreciate that. And again, we love your hints.
Yes.
All right. And then Texas on the Shock, rounding things out. This is probably my favorite of the TV movies. I think it's well done and entertaining to watch. It doesn't really add much new, but that wasn't its purpose. It was intended to act as a kind of intro to new viewers picking it up on TNT. My experience with it was that I saw it before I was halfway through season 1. The whole time I kept waiting for Sinclair to show up and wondering who this Sheridan guy was. Yeah. The funny thing was when I got to season 2 and he finally came onto the show, as soon as he told the story about destroying the Black Star, my reaction was, oh, it was this guy. And I was fine with him. Other than that, it doesn't really tell us anything longtime viewers wouldn't already know, other than the little excursion that Sheridan, Franklin, and Jakar go off on. One might wonder why this never comes up in the show itself, but I have an idea on that. It's still classified. Why would that be years later when there are things from World War II that are still classified? One of my favorite scenes is Londo's lament for Centauri Prime and his recount of the war. The music there is great. I love that sound of a bagpipe. There's something that just seems mournful about them that makes it perfect for this scene. And then at the end, he asks the children, will you remember this story? Will you remember me? Keep in mind his death is only hours away at this point, and he knows it. This makes it even more poignant in that this is the last little glimpse of joy he can see before the end. Anyway, in the beginning, excellent TV in my opinion. We now turn to season 5, and then we can say, fine, done, let's eat. And I'm guessing that's his hint for the next episode. This is the Texas on the Shock signing off until Zavani and Valen's name. And that's an awesome email as well. Thanks, guys.
I love our emailers. So
I do
I
too.
often do not remember the hint, and then I'm surprised. This one I remember, and well done, Texas.
Okay.
All
And
right.
if you want to email us,
Yes.
you
And
can
why
reach
wouldn't
us,
you?
right? You can reach us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com.
All right. And if someone, do we have anything from the YouTube channel?
Yes, we do. We have
Yay.
Cutthroat Jake says, this is my favorite episode of the entire series. And this is in reference to the deconstruction of fallen stars. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's the season 4 finale. And then, is this the same guy? No, it's then Stuart Walt says, Faith Manages was also a callback to Confessions and Lamentations in season 2, where both Delenn and then Lanier used that as their themes in attempting to help the Markhab, who all died anyway, but not alone. And then iFlyFSX says, why would humans from 1 million years in the future need encounter suits at all?
Yeah, and he uses the little emoji.
Yeah. And then he
Hmm.
also continues, Carl Sagan never said billions and billions. And that's true. I think it was the skit. I don't know if it was a Saturday Night
Oh,
skit
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Stewart pipes in and says, and play it again, Sam, and make my day, which Harry only actually says in the 4th film after it had already become part of the character in the popular mind. And then I added, and beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
And then Nathan says, some new watchers literally think humans became Vorlons and go into the past. I've asked and asked why they think that. As for the sun exploding, third space, and the whole Shadow War is a guide to why. Just because you become much more advanced doesn't mean you become perfect. Vorlons had hubris and created a gate into a third space, and so many people and so many more mistakes. Both them and the Shadows were fully wrong-headed in fighting each other, which included creation of telepaths. So humans or someone else has probably screwed up just like that. So I think that's a lot of valid points in there.
Yep.
So thank you all
Absolutely.
for your comments.
Good. And yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So Lou, how can people reach you if they need to?
They can check me out on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, where, of course, we do the flagship reviews, the flagship show where we're reviewing Babylon 5. I also have my writers podcast and the Stephen King podcast, as well as our combined JKL Media. That's Jesse, Karen, Lou, in case you wondered how we got those initials. And we do limited series and one-off episodes of things that of pop culture that interest us, whether it's music, movies, or TV or books. And so far we've done Midnight Mass, Dev, Station 11, The English. And that's what else. So we've got a couple more here. The Watchmen, We Are the World, the music video, the Barbie movie, V for Vendetta, The Green Mile, Quester tapes, and we're currently going to record our last episode of the Amazon TV science fiction TV series, The Peripheral, which is based on the William Gibson book. And look for upcoming things. I think the next one we're doing is your pick, right, Jesse? Wasn't it a
Yeah,
a
coming up.
music?
Coming up, there is a Little Steven
Right.
documentary.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're going to pick for next.
Okay. And on Twitter, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma, SYTSMA.
All right, Karen.
I am on social media as at Oliveria, and I have a blog, alliestuff.com, at which you can find a bunch of links.
And I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter, aka X. You can hear me talking music on Perfectly Good Podcast, every John Hyatt song from in alphabetical order. Coming up this week, we are recording Have a Little Faith, which has been used in multiple songs. In fact, as I mentioned before, we always do a playlist on YouTube of different John Hyatt covers, and Have a Little Faith is at 60 and adding. Obviously one of his most favorite songs. And then on Next Stop Everywhere, we're talking the new season of Doctor Who, which has been very good. And since it is Father's Day, I sent out, released as we're recording this, a new episode where Terry and Maura Armstrong join me. They have written a book, Aerosmith, Aerosmith the ZZ Top, a dad and daughter's rock and roll journey. And it is alphabetical, all the shows they have gone to together. And it's a really, really fun read. And they were a fun interview. Just that's how they ended up, often parents and childs find things you can bond over reading or sports or, stuff. And so they did concerts. And it's really, really lovely book. So I recommend checking out that episode, then checking out the book. All right, Karen, Lou, we're on to the last season. So we're going to have to talk about what we do next. But the journey continues. We have more stuff. We have a couple of, at least one new cast member we're going to discuss. And we will be off 2 weeks, but we will be back the last week of June. And I guess it'll be the first week of July when we'll have the next episode out. So in the meantime, you guys try to stay cool, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Sayonara and see.